On this day, the 2nd of July, the Church remembers a saint who has not received perhaps sufficient attention. It's Antonio Rosmini. It's only in recent times, actually, that his sanctity was fully recognized by the Church, insofar as he was beatified only in 2007. As yet he's not canonized, but he has a spirituality which is worth investigating. Strangely enough, the order that he founded, the Institute of Charity, was an influence on me in school days, for their church was practically opposite our school, and there were a lot of priests in there, and they were still using the side altar for individual celebrations, and so they wanted altar boys, quiet masses there early in the morning just with the priest. And they were genuinely sons of charity. I noticed a care there. They wanted to know your story, they cared for you. There was a reverence and a care given to the things of God. That hit me one time when the priest that was on the altar that morning was the general, and he had great reverence. I thought that's the way to celebrate the Holy Sacrifice. And he was celebrating in Latin. This is in the years immediately following the council. So this young man was of a noble family in the north of Italy. He frequented the University of Padua in 1816 and graduated in 1819. He was doing theology, and against the wish of his parents who wanted him to have the succession in the family, he orientated himself to the priesthood and was ordained. He was in Milano and became a friend of Alessandro Manzoni. Now he's going to have an influence even in political life in Italy. He also helped John Bosco. Financially, he helped him to set up a printing press. He knew the importance of that. He was influential during the Risorgimento in the formation of United Italy, because until then it was all separate kingdoms. He had links with the papacy itself. In 1848, the government of Piemonte gave him a mission with the Holy Father, Pius IX, and that Pope took him under his wing. He was very orthodox in his faith and quite intransigent with regard to certain things, with regard to spirituality. There are certain things that we can take on board. He had 4 strong points in his spiritual teaching. Fare, do, with diligence, those obligations of one's own state. That, of course, rejoins the spirituality of St. Francis de Sales. Patire, suffer willingly the tribulations that come. Those are internal and external. They have to be accepted as coming through divine providence, and not to rebel against that providence. Tacere, keep quiet with regard to the defects of one's neighbour, the bad treatments received, what regards one's own praise and reputation, and all useless words. That follows the teaching of the Lord, Matthew 12:36. Pregare, to pray God, the Heavenly Father, without ceasing. and asking for his guidance and help at the beginning, during, and at the conclusion of all one's works. And the intercession for others, which I found actually with these good Rosminian fathers. They wanted to know and they cared. And they were generous too, little things that meant a lot. He founded both the Institute of Charity for men and also the Sisters of Divine Providence for sisters, and they are an influence in education to this day. Radcliffe College is well known in England, and they have places in Italy. But more than that, he was also a complete person on every level, and that was picked up by St John Paul II, who admired him greatly. And his influence can be seen in the way that Antonio Rosmini combined philosophical, logical thought with theology. And that can be seen in the document of John Paul II, Fides et Ratio. It can also be seen in the way that the teaching of the Second Vatican Council goes, harnessing the best in humanity. Because the person who serves the Lord, especially in the priesthood, must be a complete person. Tacitus would have said, Christianus sum, I am a Christian. Et nicil humanum a me alienum puto, and I regard nothing human as alien to me. For to be effective as a pastor and a guide of souls, one needs to be able to dialogue with them with respect for where they are coming from and for what is a common court of appeal. And for the goodwill, it should be enough to appeal to logic and reason. If that logic and reason then is rejected, despite being seen, it means that there's a spiritual problem. I often wonder whether those quiet hours day by day at St. Peter's opposite our school would perhaps have been an invitation to remain close to the grace received at the altar where it was received. There are graces in youth which one treasures. It is often well to be aware that the Spirit is quietly at work in the daily, and not to push back what is there for what might be theoretically there, but sometimes